So welcome to part two. Let's talk about some of the postures. So in part one, we had talked about what physiotherapy is, who you are, what you do, and kind of how you got into this field. So now let's talk about some of the postures that we can do and maybe ones that we can do from home. I know in the previous episode, you just quickly talked about that simple trick for putting your foot on the step. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, before moving ahead, like I would like you to introduce yourself also.
Yeah. Sure.
Please.
So my name is Zarine. I am a holistic wellness coach, a life coach, as well as I'm an essential oil educator and a yoga instructor, where my yoga instructor specialty is specifically for prenatal, postnatal for women, and helping them be able to find movement and wellness throughout their pregnancy journey, because it's not only a birth for them babies, but it's also a new birth for themselves. As they're basically recreating themselves again as well too. So that's a bit about my work that I do. But yeah, thank you.
Absolutely amazing. Let's move ahead.
Yeah, so let's start with maybe some of the most common postures, or maybe some of the worst postures that people have and things that they can do to correct them.
Yeah, okay. The very first and very common, everybody talks about it. We use our phones in a posture like this. Yeah, not good. Everybody knows it, but still we do it. Even before this interview, I was using my phone in the same posture. I'll be honest. Yeah, but how can we stop that? I recently saw, I mean, it's not the very first option that we should do, but the thing is that when we tell people that, okay, you need to be mindful about how you're sitting, you need to focus on your posture, just telling that I don't think is enough. It hasn't worked for me. It hasn't worked for any of my patients. Nobody cares about 2 to 3 times. Maybe they'll focus on how you're sitting and then they'll go back to the same posture because they're habitual to that. So I recently saw a brace. It was not a like the heavy medical kind of brace. It was just a thin strap, a black strap, and it was made in a figure of eight style. So you wear it under your shirt or under your t-shirt or whatever, and then you just go on like normally with your day. So the thing is that whenever you'll bend, so your shoulder goes forward like this. So it will give you a feedback. So you will just like you'll know every time when you're bending forward. So that's one way to stop that posture. Then again, we have like a sway back posture. A lot of people have that when we are just standing. Some people have a lot of work they do while they're standing. So even in standing, if you're standing for longer periods of time, as I mentioned in the last video, that if you're washing the dishes for a longer period of time, you should place a short stool there, and you should place one leg over the stool and one leg on the ground, and you should like alternate between your legs. If it is more than probably 1 hour or half an hour, whatever.
Yeah.
So even if you're standing or doing anything, then you can use a stool. About the soy back posture, again, you have to be mindful about that. See, we can't wear brace for every correction. Yeah, so again, we are not left with too many options. Like it's our job to keep a posture correct. Yeah, we have to focus on that. It's boring, I know, but we have to do it. So that is another. And then yeah, one very subtle, not noticed, and I think is a major cause. We, especially men, we are habitual of keeping our wallets in our back pocket. And if you are rich and you have a lot of money in that wallet or cards, then that wallet is thick, and you keep that under your butt all the time. And whenever if you're sitting for longer periods of time, then your butt is always, or your pelvis, I would say, is always like, if it's right in the right pocket, your pelvis is always like this, but you are sitting straight. Somewhere your spine will correct it. Somewhere your spine will compensate for that tilt of the pelvis. That causes scoliosis. it's not necessary that every time a person has scoliosis, he will like have severe deformity or pain, or he has to go to a hospital, but it is a postural abnormality.
That's so important because like
Yeah.
you don't, that's one that I've never really thought of.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, like whether you might have a phone in your back pocket or your wallet is always there, and that's such something that's like day in and day out, that it's not something that it's a regular occurrence that's going to eventually cause some sort of imbalance in the body, for
Phone
sure.
actually doesn't cause that much because phone is these days anyways phone are thinner,
Mhm.
and whenever you are sitting idle or whenever you're sitting anyways, you always take out your phone.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're mostly working on your phone or you're just keeping it. So wallets are a major cause.
yeah.
So
Very nice. I like those. And then that's like even with so I guess in order to those they have like those simple corrections that they can do at home, but then even with that, what are some of the benefits of them actually seeing a physiotherapist in person? Because they can start making some of those corrections, but it's still years and years and years of habits that have been ingrained and basically put into their bodies, creating some sort of like disease for them. So whether they realize it or not, using physiotherapy, are they then able to kind of reverse and repair some of the discomforts and the diseases that they would have put into their bodies?
mhm. See, some I don't know. I think I read it somewhere that even if you know the path, you should hire a guide. Yeah, it saves you time. It saves you a lot of trouble,
Mhm.
even if you know the path. So the thing is that sometimes like people believe that physiotherapy is sometimes, yeah, even this happened. One of my patients came to me and he said कि डॉक्टर साहब इसमें क्या नया है, ये तो हम घर पे भी करते हैं, या डॉक्टर साहब ये तो हमारे घर के पास एक कोई थे, कोई अंकल थे, ये वो गार्डन जाते हैं, ये एक्सरसाइज तो उन्होंने भी बताई थी हमें. But what they don't realize is that first of all, they how are they performing the exercise makes a whole lot of difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
a single exercise, if performed at a different angle, if performed at a different speed, if performed at a different, I would say, in a different position, makes a whole lot of difference. It could harm you. It could not target the actual like muscle which needs to be targeted. It could cause more pain. It might even decrease the pain, but it might lead to other postural problems. You don't know. I don't know.
Right.
They don't know. Yeah, so it's always better to like do the exercises under the guidance of a physiotherapist, to learn the exercises from a trained professional, from a physical therapist, because again, the angles, the postures, the positions, the movement, how fast, how many, they all
Yeah.
make a lot of difference. And when every exercise is not supposed to be performed by every individual all the time.
Okay, that's good to know. And that's kind of where even for I think that goes for anything. It's like what may work for one person may not
Yeah,
work for another person. And it's that you can't really prescribe the same thing to everyone, or like if someone comes back from a physiotherapist and says, "Oh, this worked for me, you should do it too." I
yeah,
think they should seek professional help and support to say, "Okay, is this actually what's going to work for me and be best to support me?" Because what might be the root cause of their issue might be something completely different than what their friend had. And I think that's so important to make sure that they do see a professional, because even with physiotherapists, like you do the exercises with them, but then you also kind of give them homework to take home to repeat those exercises in between sessions, right?
exactly, exactly. Yeah.
All right.
See,
Uh,
as I said, like even if the exercises are correct, even if you are doing it correct, sometimes like I don't know, any disease, in case of frozen shoulder, in case of osteoarthritis, in case of um, um, I don't know, you name it, any disease, every exercise has a time when it is supposed to be done and when it is not supposed to be done. every ex- it works, yes, it works, but when you are doing it, that also matters. So someone might say that, yeah, I'm doing the exercise, I'm doing it correctly, I'm doing it like it will help me, but you are doing it at the wrong time. You are not yet ready for that exercise.
Yeah.
So everything matters.
Yeah, I think that's very important because I know sometimes, like, even for physiotherapy, like when they do, like, I guess, like postpartum for ab rehabilitation, if they have like diastasis recti,
Yeah.
like the separation of the core, a lot of the exercises, sometimes people say, okay, well, I'm ready to move on, or like to do a crunch or something, and they don't realize
Yeah, they're not ready.
that's doing so much more harm, and they need to do some of the very slow, very subtle exercises, which are there in turn going to start building and repairing that core. So it's like sometimes like the very slow movements that might get very boring fast are the ones that are going to be the most effective. And that's where I think they need to be very mindful of what they're doing as well, and making sure that they do seek that help. So I guess we'll move on to part 3. So next week, we're going to talk about how people can actually reach out to you and what the best way of getting in touch with you is. And I know you're quite busy, so we'll move on to
I'm
part
sorry to
3.
keep you waiting.
All right. So